On December 14, 2012, a 20-year-old man walked into Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut, and shot 26 people, including 20 children, after also killing his mother in their home.
He has the latest, John.
A very grim picture developing here, and I want to state again, as we have earlier, this is preliminary information. It's an ongoing incident. Some of this information is likely to change, but we have been told by officials from Washington to right on the scene in Connecticut that it is shaping up to be a terribly serious incident. The number they're working with at the command post now is 27 dead in the shooting incident. It appears that more than a dozen of those may be students from this school.
Adam Peter Lanza was born on April 22, 1992, in Exeter, New Hampshire, to parents Nancy and Peter Lanza. He shared his home with his parents and an older brother named Ryan, who was 4 years his senior. Mrs. Lanza faced difficulties during her pregnancy with Adam, experiencing maternal hypoglycemia, hypotension, and reduced fetal movement, ultimately leading to a planned C-section. Despite the challenges, Adam was born as a seemingly healthy, full-term baby. However, he encountered a troubling episode of apnea at just 8 days old, prompting hospital admission. During his first 3 years of life, Adam was known as a highly energetic child with sleeping difficulties, an aversion to touch, including not enjoying being held or hugged, and numerous challenges in communication. He was said to have created his own language, often making noises to communicate rather than using any words. He was seen by the New Hampshire Birth to 3 intervention program and referred to special education preschool services with recommendations for speech and language support. Adam began preschool in Kingston, New Hampshire in 1995. In late preschool, he was discontinued from speech and language services as it was believed that his difficulties were not hindering his learning. His parents opted for an independent assessment at a nearby hospital, revealing that Adam possessed several strengths that balanced his developmental challenges. He exhibited friendliness, strong social language skills, and a good sense of humor. The evaluator also suggested the possibility of Adam having a sensory integration disorder. Before turning 5 in early April 1997, a neurological developmental assessment documented that Adam was an exceptionally lively child who never slept soundly, continued creating his own language, and disliked physical affection. He was observed to display unusual, repetitive behaviors and severe temper tantrums. Reports mentioned instances where Adam would sit and hit his head repeatedly, and teachers noted that Adam tended to be very quiet during group sessions. In 1998, the Lanza family relocated to Connecticut when Peter secured a job with General Electric. Emails from Nancy revealed her desire for a fresh start, and the entire family moved together to a new residence in Sandy Hook. By 1997, there were signs that Nancy sensed difficulties in the marriage, frequently expressing concerns to a friend about Peter's long work hours. She described Peter as frequently returning home after Adam and Ryan had gone to bed and leaving early the next morning before the children awoke. During this period, Nancy was not employed outside the home, having left her previous position at an insurance company and focused on homemaking and raising her children. Peter and Nancy would eventually separate in 2002, though they did not finalize their divorce until 2009. Adam began first grade at Sandy Hook Elementary School in September 1998. Behavioral and development monitoring of Adam continued until the 4th grade, during which he was characterized as having reached an academic level appropriate for his age. His speech also improved significantly through the school's speech therapy program. However, he continued to be described as shy and withdrawn, only occasionally engaging in social interactions with other children. Although assessments of Adam's behavior and achievements in elementary school were mostly positive, in 5th grade, he collaborated with a classmate to create a highly disturbing project titled The Big Book of Granny. The book contained pictures and a story that centered around the topics of child murder, cannibalism, and the taxidermy of humans. According to a later statement by the co-author, the book was created following a class assignment to create a comic book-style creative writing project. Reports suggest that Adam may have tried to sell the book to classmates for 25 cents each, resulting in a discussion between a school administrator and Mrs. Lanza. However, educational records do not provide a clear indication that school staff thoroughly examined or were explicitly informed about the book's content. Additionally, there is no reference in the school record to any staff reaction upon receiving the book or to any admonishment of Adam concerning its sale. Mental health experts later concluded that the material in The Big Book of Granny could be characterized as highly repulsive, and if school staff had thoroughly examined it, it would have indicated the necessity for a referral to a child psychiatrist or another mental health professional for evaluation. Despite an outward appearance of positive development, Adam began to exhibit profound troubles, experiencing feelings of rage, hatred, and homicidal impulses by the age of 10. Between the ages of 11 and 12, Peter Lanza reported that Adam began to seem, quote, less happy, giving up several of his hobbies, and refusing to celebrate any holidays, including his own birthday. To Peter, Adam grew more anxious and frustrated, though he did not seem to be angry or aggressive. He didn't like to be photographed or seen in pictures. He began avoiding eye contact and became increasingly anxious. While Adam was an easy target for bullying, reports suggest he was never actually bullied. A neighbor of the Lanza family stated, Adam was not connecting with anyone at all. He was never bullied, yet rather just left alone. He never associated with others, and when he got on the bus, he would sit alone with his headphones and listen to music. If anyone tried to communicate with him, he would just ignore them and not make eye contact. Adam continued to get good grades throughout middle school, although by 7th grade, his social and emotional struggles appeared to have become increasingly intense, resulting in his removal from Newtown Middle School in late April 2005. Yet again, there is no indication that he was ever offered any reevaluation for special education services based on social, emotional, or other developmental concerns. Nancy transferred Adam to a local Catholic school to finish his 7th grade year. However, he was quickly removed from the school. The details surrounding whether this was initiated by Nancy or the school remain unclear, but one teacher at the school later reported that he presented very differently from the other children. The teacher stated, quote, "After my years of experience teaching 7th grade boys, I know how they are supposed to act. But I saw Adam as being not normal, with very distinct antisocial issues. I remember giving creative writing assignments to students, instructing them to write a page or two on whatever they wanted to talk about. Adam would write 10 pages obsessing about battles, destruction, and war. I have known 7th grade boys to talk about things like this, but his level of violence was disturbing. I remember showing the writings to the principal at the time. Adam's creative writing was so graphic that it could not be shared. There is no record of teachers investigating the source of the violent content in his writings with Adam or his parents. Additionally, there is no sign that Peter or Nancy Lanza was aware of or actively reviewing what Adam was creating for school, nor is there any indication of whether they had any concerns about it. In September 2005, Nancy brought Adam to the emergency room at Danbury Hospital for an assessment following concerns about him having difficulties sleeping and eating. The clinical consultation resulted in Adam being diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, and a few weeks later, he was placed in homeschooling for the rest of his middle school years. Throughout his homeschooling, most of his day involved remaining indoors, where he isolated himself to play World of Warcraft in darkness. His earlier tendencies related to obsessive-compulsive disorder escalated, leading to intensified hand-washing that resulted in excoriated areas on his hands. As his last year of middle school concluded, a farewell dance event was organized for students and teachers. However, since Adam was homeschooled, he wasn't permitted to participate. To make up for it, his parents bought him the home edition of the Dance Dance Revolution game, a pastime that eventually grew into an obsession of his. Adam made a return to the public school system, attending high school at Newtown High. That was until the 10th grade, when Nancy decided keeping him at home would be best, after seeing his mental health difficulties continue to become increasingly prominent. Around this time, Adam's interest in online gaming would increase, as well as his interest in more morbid topics, such as mass murderers. By late 2009, he had become a member of the Super Columbine Massacre RPG forum board, adopting the alias Smiggles, where he posted nearly 300 posts over the course of nearly 2 years. Throughout that year, his interest in related topics reached its peak. Under the name Kaynbred, he joined several gun-related forums, engaging in discussions about various assault rifles and expressing a particular fondness for certain firearm types. He also established an account on Wikipedia using the same name, actively editing and contributing to articles about mass shooting incidents, including the Luby's Massacre, the Westroads Mall mass shooting, the Dawson College shooting, and others. Perhaps the biggest red flag of Adam's online activity was a spreadsheet he created, listing nearly 500 mass murder events, in which he ranked them by the number of kills obtained. He included many specific details, such as the weapons used, the day of the week, location, and how the shooting was ended. In a more recent discovery, a YouTube channel under the name Cultural Philistine was uncovered with ramblings of Adam dated all the way up to the January preceding his attack. The channel has since been deleted, and while it has never been 100% confirmed to be his account, the voice, mannerisms, terminology, ideologies, and views on children are identical to what is known about Adam. He even quoted posts he's known to have made online and referred to himself by his username on other forums. At some point, Adam wrote a 35-page essay outlining a position that pedophilia should not be considered abhorrent or illegal. Over an hour and a half of Adam rambling on the topic was also later discovered on his YouTube channel.
Oh, here's a good point. This thing about, okay, let's say children are completely asexual and they don't have any desires for sex. Why would that indicate that it's abusive for them to engage in it? Let's say that there's some child who doesn't like football at all, he has no interest in it, but there's this adult he likes, and for whatever reason, he agrees to play football with the adult, even though the child has no interest in it. How is that abusive? It's just the child who likes the adult going along with the ride because they like associating with the adult. And it isn't harmful at all, but somehow when it comes to sex, even if the child had absolutely no interest in it, and they could not enjoy it at all, it's somehow dangerous. And even if they have no interest in it, it's pretty fucking obvious that they can enjoy it. It's pretty obvious that they do have an interest, even though society tries to suppress it. About myself, that guy's... Probably think about myself, that guy's such a liar. Just listen to his voice, listening to his intonation. He's obviously a pedophile. And who knows? Maybe I am.
In June of 2009, Adam went on to graduate from Newtown High School. He registered for and took several courses at Norwalk Community College, including website production and Visual Basic, but he ended up dropping out in his first year for unknown reasons. What is known is that Adam's mental health continued to deteriorate rapidly at this point, and he would go back to having speech problems, not eating for hours or days at a time, and of course, continuing to post about mass murders online. Adam and his father would completely fall out around this time after an argument about how many classes Adam took at the community college. Adam wanted to take a full course load, while Peter felt that this was unrealistic. Adam began to refuse to spend any time or have any communication with his father, although his father would send him emails regularly in an attempt to remain in his life. By the end of 2010, Nancy and Adam would be the only two left in the family home, as Ryan had moved to New York to pursue a career. Adam's home was a place where it was common to use guns for recreational activity, and the two would frequent the shooting range together at this time. His mother seemed unaware of any potential dangers of providing access to firearms to Adam, even with his ongoing mental health issues. Eventually, Adam became withdrawn from his own mother, only communicating via notes and emails, even though they lived in the same household. One activity that Adam did continue to engage in regularly during this time was Dance Dance Revolution. After obtaining his driver's license, he would go down to the local theater to play either alone or with an acquaintance he stayed in contact with from community college. He would dance for up to 10 hours at a time, dancing himself into a state of physical exhaustion. It is reasonable to speculate from this behavior that he was living with very serious inner turmoil at this time. He told his friend that mental health issues were not a reflection of the character of a person, but were symptoms of something else going on inside a person. During 2011, Adam phoned the Anarchy radio show, engaging in conversations where he expressed empathy for Travis the Chimp and drew comparisons between the Chimp and a mass shooter.
There we go. Hello. We got the collapsible headphones here, but we're back.
Sorry, we got Greg on the phone.
Oh, Greg. Okay. How's it going?
Hi, good. I'm a fan of your writing.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
sorry
you
to
very
bring
much.
up such an old news story, but I couldn't find anything that you said about the topic, and it seems relevant to your interest, so I thought I would bring up Travis the Chimp. Do you remember him?
I don't.
Well, he was a highly domesticated chimpanzee who lived in a suburban home in Stamford, Connecticut.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
And he was raised just like a human child starting from the week he was born. By the time that he was 14 years old, which would be somewhere around age 20 in human years,
Uh-huh.
he slept in a bed, he took his own baths, he dressed himself, he brushed his teeth with an electric toothbrush.
Really? When was this?
Well, this happened in early 2009.
Oh.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
He ate his meals at a table and enjoyed human foods like ice cream. And he used a remote control to watch television and liked baseball games. And he even used a computer to look at pictures on the internet.
Huh.
And it goes without saying that Travis was very overweight. He was 200 pounds when he should have been around the low hundreds.
Mm-hmm.
And he was actually taking Xanax.
Amazing.
I couldn't find any information about why he was taking it, but it just seems to say a lot that he was given it at all. And basically, I think Travis wasn't really any different than a mentally handicapped human child. But anyway, one day in February 2009, he was acting very agitated, and at some point grabbed his owner's car keys, went outside and started beeping from car to car, apparently wanting to go for a car ride. And he was acting very aggressively, so his owner called her friend over to get her to help him to calm down and go back inside. And once she arrived, he immediately attacked her, and his owner tried to stop him, but couldn't, and she even resorted to stabbing him with a knife, but nothing worked. And she said that after she stabbed him, he looked at her as if to say, "Why'd you do that to me, Mom?" Because apparently that was what their relationship was like, no different than between a human mother and a human child. So after the stabbing, she called the police, who arrived 12 minutes after the attack, at which point her friend was pretty close to dead. And once the cruiser came up, Travis went over to it, tried to open the locked passenger door. He smashed off the side view mirror, went over to the driver's door, opened it, and the cop shot him. He fled back into the house, where he went to his playroom and bled to death. And this might not seem very relevant, but I'm bringing it up because afterward, everyone was condemning his owner for saying how irresponsible she was for raising a chimp like it was a child, and that she should have known something like this would happen because chimps aren't supposed to be living in civilization. They're supposed to be living in the wild among each other. But their criticism stops there, and the implication is that there's no way anything could have gone wrong in his life if he had been living in civilization as a human rather than a chimp.
Ah, indeed.
So in Travis, because he brings up questions about this whole process of child raising.
Yeah.
Isn't something which just happens to gently exist without us having to do anything, because every newborn child, human child, is born in a chimp-like state, and civilization is only sustained by conditioning them for years on end so that they'll accept it for what it is. And since we've gone through this conditioning, we can observe a human family raising a human child, and I'm sure that even you have trouble intuitively seeing it as something unnatural. But when we see a chimp in that position, we viscerally know that there's something profoundly wrong with the situation. And it's easy to say there's something wrong with it simply because it's a chimp, but what's the real difference between us and our closest relatives? Travis wasn't an untamed monster at all. He wasn't just feigning domestication, he was civilized. He was able to integrate into society. He was a chimp actor when he was younger, and his owner drove him around the city frequently in association with her towing business, where he met many different people and got along with everyone. If Travis had been some nasty monster all his life, it would have been widely reported, but to the contrary, it seems like everyone who knew him said how shocked they were that Travis had been so savage, because they knew him as a sweet child. And there were 2 isolated incidents early in his life when he acted aggressively, but summarizing them would take too long, so basically I'll just say that he didn't act really any differently than a human child would, and the people who would use that as an indictment against having chimps live as humans do wouldn't apply the same thing to humans, so it's just kind of irrelevant. But anyway, look what civilization did to him. It had the same exact effect on him as it has on humans. He was profoundly sick in every sense of the term, and he had to resort to these surrogate activities like watching baseball and looking at pictures on a computer screen and taking Xanax. He was a complete mess. And his attack wasn't simply because he was a senselessly violent, impulsive chimp, which was how his behavior was universally portrayed. Immediately before his attack, he had desperately been wanting his owner to drive him somewhere. And the best reason I can think of for why he would want that, looking at his entire life, would be that some little thing he experienced was the last straw, and he was overwhelmed by the life that he had, and he wanted to get out of it by changing his environment, and the best way that he knew how to deal with that was by getting his owner to drive him somewhere else.
Yeah.
And when his owner's friend arrived, he knew that she was trying to coax him back into his life of domestication, and he couldn't handle that, so he attacked her and anyone else who approached him. And dismissing his attack as simply being the senseless, violent impulsiveness of a chimp instead of a human is wishful thinking at best. His attack can be seen entirely parallel to the attacks, random acts of violence that you bring up on your show every week, committed by humans, which the mainstream also has no explanation for. And if he's an actual human, I just don't think it would be such a stretch to say that he very well could have been a teenage mall shooter or something like that.
Yeah.
And
wow. Thank you, Greg.
Yeah.
That's quite a story. Yeah, that's really apropos, isn't it? Travis the chimp.
It's just that I'm a little surprised that I never heard you bring it up at all, because maybe I'm just seeing connections where there aren't any, but...
Not, I think not. No, I didn't catch that one. I didn't, maybe I was out of the country or something, I don't know, but I missed it. Thanks very much, man.
Thank you.
Take care. Wow, very well articulated, I think.
In the last days before December 14th, 2012, Adam constantly visited the Sandy Hook website. On December 13th, the GPS unit in his vehicle recorded his movements to Chimney Swift Road, a route passing by Sandy Hook Elementary. Adam made a right turn off Riverside and drove past Dickinson Drive, the entrance to Sandy Hook Elementary School. He proceeded about half a mile before stopping on Chimney Swift Drive. There is no evidence that he drove down Dickinson Drive onto the school premises. On December 13, 2012, Nancy Lanza returned home from a trip to New Hampshire around 10 p.m. Just before 9:30 the next morning, Adam used a .22 caliber Savage Mark rifle to shoot his mother 4 times at point-blank range in the head as she slept. The 4 shots are said to have represented each member of the family. Shortly after shooting his mother, Adam used her car to drive to Sandy Hook Elementary School. He was armed with a 12-gauge semi-automatic shotgun, a Bushmaster XM15 E2S rifle, 2 handguns, and hundreds of rounds of ammunition. Just before 9:35 a.m., he reached the school. He was dressed in black attire, yellow earplugs, a black hat, and a utility vest. After firing a single round into the ground from his rifle, he approached the school's entrance. Since the entry door was locked, Adam proceeded to shoot through a glass panel adjacent to the door. A few individuals heard the first shots over the school intercom system, which was actively broadcasting morning announcements. Principal Don Hochsprung and school psychologist Mary Sherlock were in a meeting with fellow faculty members when they heard gunshots, although they couldn't identify them. Responding to the sounds, Hochsprung, Sherlock, and lead teacher Natalie Hammond ventured into the hallway to locate the source. Then they came across Adam. A faculty member present in the meeting stated that the 3 women screamed, "Shooter, stay put," alerting their colleagues to the danger and saving their lives. While hiding in the math lab, a teacher caught the sound of school janitor Rick Thorne yelling, "Put the gun down." Lanza proceeded to fatally shoot both Hochsprung and Sherlock. Hammond received a gunshot wound to the leg, followed by another. She lay still in the hallway, and upon hearing no additional noise, crawled back to the conference room, securing the door by pressing her body against it. A 9-year-old boy heard the shooter say, "Raise your hands," and another voice pleading, "Don't shoot." He also heard numerous people yelling, and a barrage of gunshots through the intercom system, while he, his classmates, and his teacher hid in a gymnasium closet. Diane Day, a school therapist present at the faculty meeting with Hochsprung, heard screams, followed by additional gunfire. Another teacher, acting as a substitute kindergarten teacher, was injured during the attack. As she closed a door farther down the hallway, a bullet ricocheted and hit her foot. Adam never entered her classroom. He entered the main office, but seemingly overlooked the people hiding there, opting to return to the hallway. School nurse Sarah Cox concealed herself under a desk in her office. She later recounted observing the door opening, with Lanza's boots and legs facing her desk from approximately 20 feet away. He stood for a brief moment before turning and leaving. She and the school secretary, Barbara Halstead, dialed 911 and hid in a first aid supply closet for as long as 4 hours. Janitor Rick Thorne ran through the hallways, notifying classrooms. Adam proceeded into classroom room 8, a first-grade class where substitute teacher Lauren Rousseau had gathered her students at the back of the room, attempting to shield them in a bathroom. Adam forcibly entered the classroom, resulting in the tragic deaths of Rousseau, behavioral therapist Rachel Davino, and 15 students. A 6-year-old girl, the sole survivor, was located by the police in the classroom after the shooting. During the incident, she had concealed herself in a corner of the classroom's bathroom, playing dead to survive. The few witnesses to this part of the shooting reported hearing a young boy cry out, "Help me, I don't want to be here," to which Lanza responded, "Well, you're here," before continuously firing. Adam proceeded to room 10, an adjacent first-grade classroom. The classroom's teacher, Victoria Lee Soto, had hidden some students in a closet or bathroom, while others were hidden under desks. As Soto returned to the classroom door to secure it, Adam entered. Moving to the back of the classroom, he noticed the children under the desks and proceeded to shoot them. First grader Jesse Lewis urged his classmates to flee for safety, and some managed to do so. Tragically, Lewis was fatally shot by Lanza while looking directly at him. At 9:39 a.m., just over 3 minutes after the first shots were fired, police had arrived on scene. At this point, Adam had gone back and forth between the two classrooms at least twice. As the police began to enter the school, they heard one final gunshot. Adam had ended his own life with one of his handguns. In 5 minutes, 20 children aged 6 and 7 and 6 adult staff members had been murdered. Investigations concluded that there was not one thing that was necessarily the tipping point driving Adam to do what he did. Rather, the attack appeared to have been a purposefully thought-out and planned attack. Investigators conducted a search of Nancy and Adam's residence to collect evidence. It was revealed that Adam had taken out the hard drive from his computer and purposely damaged it prior to the shooting, posing a difficulty for investigators in retrieving data. Nevertheless, insights from Adam's recovered writings and online activities unmistakably indicated that he was an ill individual with a deep-seated hatred for society and an obsession with murder. The elementary school may have been targeted because he could overpower people, a dynamic that is very important for mass shooters as they do not want to be countered. The shooting has never been linked to a definitive motive, though various theories exist. The most widely agreed upon theory suggests that Adam was a pedophile. This conclusion stems from the 35-page essay and later found audio tapes wherein he articulated his stance that pedophilia should not be deemed illegal. Another theory is that he possessed an unhealthy fixation on children, aiming to rescue them from a corrupt society, and unfortunately, the only method he saw fit was to prevent them from living altogether. As stated in his own words,
"About children. You're the one who wants to rape children. I'm the one who wants to save them from a life of suffering that you want to impose onto them. You're the one who sees them as your property. I'm the one who wants to free them.